truth be told, once we wrapped up the episode, I said to my team, I was like, we were in the middle of West Virginia, like middle of nowhere. And there was no alleviating this pain. I'm like, get me to a gas station. I literally went in, bought 340s of Budweiser, and just took those things to the face. I'm like, I have to change my mental and body chemistry right now as quick as I can, which worked.
I'm just going to start off with saying that I am really, really excited about this.
It's all about you, bro.
About this episode
It
today.
always is, the middle one.
Because we
Middle child.
have quite an amazing guest that I recently met, but that I am just so excited to talk to today. So do you guys mind if I do the...
Yeah, I'm just telling Joe to spit out his gum because I hear his lips smacking and it's driving me nuts.
Okay, well, do you mind if I do the introduction?
Please, do the honors.
Of course. Is that cool?
You're already doing
Totally
it.
cool.
Okay, well, there are two kinds of people on this planet, okay?
Whoever the hell these are.
One are the type of people that run from things that sting you. And then there's the other type of people who run towards things that sting you, grab on and say, let's see what happens. Now, our next guest has built one of the biggest wildlife platforms ever on the planet by doing pretty much exactly that. But what's really interesting is he didn't just show you the animal. He shows you what the animal feels like and what it's like to be in its environment. That's what makes him so different. And also, while he's doing that, he goes into the psychology behind the pain and the stings, because it becomes less about that and more about fear, curiosity, storytelling, and what and how far someone will go to make people care about wildlife. And that's why I dig this guy. And I think this is going to be a great episode. With no further ado, our guest, Coyote Peterson. Welcome to the Brotherly Love Pod, bro.
Coyote Peterson.
What's up, guys? Excited to be on the show today. Lots of good stuff to talk about.
There is, man. I am so... Let's start off with Coyote. Where did that nickname come from, man?
What do you mean nickname? That's the name his parents gave him. It's on his birth certificate.
Oh, really?
Coyote. Yeah, he came out, he was a little hairy.
Yeah.
And he had a tail.
Had
a little bit of mange.
Yeah, he had a tail. They were like, we were going to name him Brett, but this guy looks like a wolf. So we won't go full wolf, so we're going to just call him Coyote. Yeah.
There could be some good mythology behind that if we start like working that into the ethos of the internet.
There you go.
Well, my real name is Nathaniel. And when I was about 8 years old, my mom gave me the nickname Coyote because similar to the Warner Brothers cartoon, when we would vacation out to the Southwest, I would chase lizards around. And I had this tactic that if roadrunners were able to catch the lizards and I followed the roadrunners, they would lead me to the lizards. I could scare off the bird and catch the lizard before the bird did. Hence the name Coyote. And you're probably wondering, did that tactic ever work? The answer is no, because anytime I would chase a roadrunner around, it was kind of like the cartoon. That thing is just constantly running and disappearing. But it did kind of come a little bit full circle because, one of the most famous things that we get comment-wise these days is like, yo, how is this guy still alive? And I feel like the Coyote from Warner Brothers, like I keep like surviving all these crazy situations. So it kind of fits now.
Yes.
Heck yeah,
I love
man.
that. By the way, some of my favorite cartoons ever.
Yeah.
Literally.
Sick.
The old Looney Tunes and Warner. I mean, they're like literally my favorite. Yeah. I made all my children watch them, literally.
They made a Wile E. Coyote versus Acme movie a couple years ago that got shelved, and I just saw a couple weeks ago that I think somebody bought it out and they're going to finally release it with like, it's part animation, part real world humans and stuff like that. Kind of like the Sonic the Hedgehog mix, but I'm certainly going to check it out.
Yeah, I love that.
too.
I loved it when they did it with Who Framed Roger Rabbit. The live action and the animation was amazing. Amazing.
awesome.
I love it. Yeah.
Joe's entertainment stopped back in like 85, 87.
No, it was 88. 88, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, the year that you were born and ruined everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway.
So, I've been meaning to ask you this, Coyote. Because like I've got memories where if I think about where my passion, because I'm crazy about reptiles and amphibians, right? Like you were just saying, running around catching lizards as a kid. That's like my childhood. But when I was thinking back to that moment, like, what was it? Like, is there a defining moment that really changed things? And for me, it was, I just remember even being really young, wanting to wake up in the morning so I could get outside. That was like the first thought I had when I woke up was, can I get outside? And then we're from the East Coast too. We're from Philly.
Yeah.
So during those long winter months, I remember also having memories as a kid just sitting by the windows, like waiting for the snow to melt so I could get back out with all my friends. Do you have that defining moment in your life where, man, wildlife is just so inspiring, it's where I want to be?
Yeah, so I'm in Columbus, Ohio right now. So we're kind of that same bubble
Yeah.
of the universe where we grew up and we're born. And there's definitely something to that, right? I love being from the Midwest because you get to embrace all of these different seasons.
Yep.
On Sunday, it was 70 degrees here and I was outside in a t-shirt. Today, there's an inch of snow on the ground. Like, I don't
crazy.
know what's happening.
That
with the
is
global
wild.
climate shift, right? But
Yeah,
that's
dude.
the Midwest for you. So this is the time of year where, to answer your question, yes, when I was younger, you would see the system start to get warmer and warmer. Then you knew turtles were coming out,
Yep.
frogs were coming out.
Heck yeah.
And I spent so much of my childhood. I mean, I grew up in the middle of nowhere, small town called Newberry, still so small today. There's not even any fast food places or anything like that. I mean,
That's awesome.
it's basically like a cross section between two roads. And I grew up in the middle of nowhere in the country. So every single day during summer vacation was spent in the woods with my friends, building forts, playing capture the flag, and when the time of day was right, going to the ponds or the swamps and trying to catch turtles that were moving around. And that drove my being as a kid for the most part.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
man, I'm the
Really
same.
cool. He was the same way. He would trek me down to the ponds, and he would constantly ask me to turn over rocks to catch salamanders.
Yeah.
And we built ponds and underneath our deck in the back, and we captured tadpoles, and he threw them in there, and he was able to incubate them into full-fledged frogs.
Yeah,
No,
not,
but I mean,
not incubate, but yes,
but you know
I know
what,
what
he
you're
was able
saying.
to, like, thanks, bro. He was able. If we do a car episode, by the way, or anything other than this, I will dominate this whole conversation.
Well, there's going to be a part that you're going to like because, this is another really cool thing about Coyote that I learned that I didn't know was that he also has, a lot of background in film. Went to film school, right?
Yeah. So my people, this is one of the big sort of misconceptions with me. People just automatically assume like, oh, you must be a biologist.
Right.
Truth be told, I have no formal degree in anything animal or science related. My background, I went to the Ohio State University and created my own major in screenwriting, producing, and directing. So before I sort of got into this animal adventure world, I really was working hard to break into the independent film world. So I had a little bit of a,
cool.
Inside baseball approach to how we were able to build our brand. I understood storytelling and I understood where cameras needed to go. And I understood the idea of bringing that all together and making that story entertaining in post-production before it came time to step in front of the camera and start thinking about being a person that was going to bring animals and adventure to the world. I mean, I never intended to do this. I just have the skill set from growing up as a kid, being out in the wild, how to catch things and get close to them. Now, the whole get intentionally bitten and stung, that's a whole phenomenon that came after the fact, because any good wildlife presenter is going to tell you, if you're getting bit by things, you may want to think about finding a different job.
Yeah.
This is going to end well for you. So the fact that that's what became so virally popular in the early days of Brave Wilderness is just beside me, but hey, here I am today.
Well, honestly, man, I've seen some of those videos, and I got to tell you, I mean,
Woo! Especially for this guy.
I don't know
Joe
how-
hates. When I say if he even hears a bumblebee, he's running.
No, it's
running.
not that. It's not that. I don't believe the theory that if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. It's not true, bro. It's
Well,
not true.
no, it
I've been in a
actually
chair.
is.
I've been outside. I've been minding my own business. I see the bees over there, and they're doing their thing, right? I'm doing my thing. I don't change. All of a sudden, they come over, and they're in my space. I'm like, hey, listen, bro, you're in your space over there with the flowers. I'm not messing with you, but you're messing with me. And they don't leave you alone. I'm literally in one corner of my yard. They have the entire yard, and they don't leave me alone. They're literally right next to me, all right? And it's annoying. I don't love it. But what's amazing is that, honestly, we found a hawk wasp, okay?
Tarantula hawk.
A tarantula hawk. Oh, I have to put the first word? I didn't
Just what
understand.
it is.
A tarantula hawk wasp, okay? Bro, these things are
He knows. He's been stung by
Oh,
them.
I know. And I saw the video of you being, honestly, just as a novice,
I know.
like I'm asking for all the people that watch the videos that aren't like inside trading animal experts, what the hell was that like? Because honestly, dude, we've seen them. They're in our neighborhood clearly. And I can't even imagine being stung by that thing. That wasp was
they're
this big.
They're intelligent too, Joe. In fact, Andy and I had to run him with one at night in the jungle in Costa Rica.
Really?
To the point
Wait,
where
at night?
At night. We must have disturbed it, right? And also all the tarantulas come out at night. So I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's some sort of nocturnal thing. Maybe you know about this, Cody, because I was shocked because it was so active in the middle of the night, and we had disturbed it, and it was coming after us hardcore to the point where the guy we were with, Brian, who runs the Amphibian Research Center down there, he was actually, the first time, it was all about protecting. He actually was like, you know what, we got to take that out. It's not leaving us alone. And we actually were trying to take this thing out, and it was outsmarting us the entire time. Anyway, tangent, but sorry.
It was like Maverick.
What was it like
Top
to be
Gun.
stung by one of those badasses, man?
So what's funny about the tarantula hawk, and it's such an intimidating insect, right?
Oh my gosh, it is.
And you see something that's borderline the size of a bird flying, and you're like, oh no, that thing might sting me. All of a sudden, it's a whole different mindset, right? Yep. So when I got stung by the tarantula hawk, this was one of the earlier sting episodes that we ever did. And it sounds ridiculous to say it's gotten easier over time, but knowing how my body's handled pain, handled venom, I'm not invincible by any means whatsoever, trust me. But the fact that I'm just a little bit more confident that, all right, if I've survived all these ones, I'm probably going to survive these next ones. I think it's a little easier for me to do it today. But back then with that tarantula hawk, I mean, dude, I was as nervous as it gets. Like, I read about it enough to know that, well, this thing paralyzes spiders. What's it going to do to me? I didn't think it was going to paralyze my whole body, but my arm did lock up in a state of paralysis from the venom, which was kind of crazy.
How long did that last?
Only about 7 minutes. So
7 minutes?
Yeah. I said
Only like 7 to 10 days. And then I got complete feeling, except in these two fingers. Look, they're still limp as hell. That's...
Some of the stuff that I've been through since has been so much worse. So I look back, I'm like, 7 minutes? I eat that for breakfast nowadays, you know?
Wow.
Dude, what was like the one time or maybe a couple times where you were like, this could have been a really, really bad idea. This was maybe not something I should do.
Well, I'd say the dumbest thing I've ever done, because I've done so much crazy stuff at this point, right? Which is only a percentage of what we do on Brave Wilderness, right? But I've done enough that people are, if they stop me anywhere, grocery store, gas station, like, yo, what's the most painful sting? It's not so much that it's the most painful sting at this point. It's what's the most painful experience I've been through, because you've got bites, you've got stings, you've got intentional, you've got unintentional. And the most painful intentional sting situation that I've been through was putting my hand in a box with 200 yellow jackets to figure out if, after they had been abducted from their nest, like 15 minutes later, if they were still going to be pissed off at me. Worst idea ever. And my hand got stuck in the box. Oh. So I had given up after about 3 seconds. I was like, nope, bad. They're pissed. My hand got stuck. And by stuck, what I mean is that the contraption we made to put my hand in, had I just ripped it out, there would have been 200 yellow jackets all over the place, chasing us and stinging the crew. So we were working to get my hand out of the box while I'm continuously getting stung. And it was the most painful 36 hours of excruciating, unbelievable torture I've ever been through. My hand was swollen like 2 times the normal size. Looked like if you take a medical glove and blow it up with air and keep it on your hand. That's what my hand looked like, and couldn't sleep. Water.
What did they give you for that?
Terrible.
Did your body go into shock?
Take something for that?
No, but I mean, like, what do you do for that? Like, what does that do to your body?
Well, it was one of those times where my team was like, yo, get the EpiPen. This might be the time where we get to stab you with the EpiPen. Like, he might be going into anaphylactic shock today.
I was going to say.
I didn't. I got really, really mad at YouTube, which was something we cut out of the episode, because I'm like, it's the YouTube algorithm that's like, making me feel like I have to do these things, right? Yeah. So that's just a little behind the scenes notion of it. But truth be told, once we wrapped up the episode, I said to my team, I was like, we were in the middle of West Virginia, like middle of nowhere. And there was no alleviating this pain. I'm like, get me to a gas station. I literally went in, bought 3 40s of Budweiser, and just took those things to the face. I'm like, I have to change my mental and body chemistry right now as quick as I can, which worked. I mean, you just straight pound 3 40s of Budweiser, Bud Heavy. You're going to be like, okay, cool. I'm feeling a little bit better. 5 or 6 hours after that wears off, I was just bad shape, really bad shape.
I'm sure, man, because now you're dehydrated on top.
Yeah.
Of it.
No, it was a great idea to alleviate the pain temporarily, but it came back and it was a solid 36 hours of I couldn't sleep. I couldn't do anything. You couldn't sit still. But yeah, so putting my hand in a box with a bunch of yellow jackets, terrible idea. I wouldn't recommend it.
That's insane. That's so Colin Farrell of you. I heard that on Minority Report, he had to work on his birthday and he wanted the day off. So he asked and Spielberg was like, no, there's no way we're taking a day off for your birthday. So he went out the night before and just got hammered, totally smashed, showed up on set, had a bunch of dialogue, couldn't get through it. So he went to his trailer and he was like, I need a 6-pack of beer. I need some Guinness. I need some Jack Daniels. And he just got hammered again and continued the train and made it through the day. Now he said, don't get me wrong, that's not something you should do, but it did work for him. So that reminds me.
It's amazing how many times Steven Spielberg has had to deal with people drinking and not being able to perform their scenes. I mean, from Jaws to Minority Report. I mean, how many times has he gone through that? And who does that working with Steven Spielberg to be like, I'm just going to say no to Steven and go do this anyway.
I know.
Can you imagine? I would be on like such
I
the
would
best
pay.
behavior.
I would pay Steven to work with Steven.
Me too.
I'd literally pay to be in the movie.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
That's amazing.
What about was it the bull ant that we saw?
Oh yeah,
I know you've had some encounters with those. What is that? Because I was running from those. Those scare the hell out of me.
What are
bullet ants?
Bullet ants.
Bullet
They're
ants?
about
Bullet ants,
an inch long ant that it's said that their sting feels like being shot with a bullet. That's why they're called bullet ants.
Matt, did you get stung by one in Costa Rica?
No, honestly, I was, listen, I'm no Coyote Peterson, let me tell you. I definitely did put my hand on the log right next to the bullet ant. If it had gone to my hand, I would have tried to take it, but it did not at all. It just kind of, I could see its little antenna, just gave me a little taste.
They're smart, man. They're incredibly smart. I got a new appreciation from working with bullet ants, and when I did the bullet ant sting, where the whole insect sting pain index concept came from is I actually have the book right here. It's entomologist Justin Schmidt. Matt, if you haven't read this, the late great Justin Schmidt, I got the chance to work with him a couple times before he passed away. Speaking of Steven Spielberg, we Steven Spielberg this book. And what I mean is we found the book and we were like, let's make the movie version of what that is. And my climb up the insect sting pain index was inspired by Justin's work. So Joe, the bullet ant was ranked as the #1 most painful sting in the world at the time by Justin. And it is painful. It is incredibly painful. And there is a ceremony that is done in Central and South America by certain tribes where young men will put their hands into woven leaf gloves with bullet ants in them and take stings over and over and over again to the point where essentially the ant is using its full yield of venom until it runs out. And you hallucinate. There's a panerotoxin in it that if you take enough of it, not only are you in excruciating pain, but you sort of are like on a vision quest, right? Like you're going to have hallucinations. You're going to transition from boyhood to manhood, but you have to be able to do this without making a single noise to express that pain. Obviously, I put in a bit more of a performance in relation to that. And we considered doing the bullet ant gloves, but we were like, you can't see anything. It's much more entertaining to take a single ant and be like, let's see this thing actually sting you. And I can confirm it is very, very painful, but it is not the most painful sting that I have been through. So the giant hornet and the execution wasp actually ended up being worse, but we ended up ranking them as more of a threat because flying insects that sting obviously can pursue you much differently than an insect that crawls. And bullet ants, honestly, unless you're getting by their nest and pounding around on the outside and the soldiers are coming out to defend, the foragers are pretty docile unless you get one in your shirt and you're like, what is this? And then you get stung.
Yep.
Do they bite or do they have a stinger?
Both. So they can bite, but the bite doesn't inject any venom. So their mandibles can just hold on, which essentially locks them in place, and then they can sting you with their stinger, which is in their abdomen. So they'll sting you again and again until the venom yield runs out.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You know, I saw a close-up picture, I don't know if it's true, of like what an ant actually looks like.
Oh,
You see
yeah.
these little cute ants.
the face.
And then you see literally, I don't know what I would consider the face of evil, pure evil. An ant looks like something out of some Ridley Scott alien. I mean, they are the ugliest creatures.
Yeah,
I mean,
they're
they look
pretty
like
brutal.
like weird Dracula cyborgs. I don't know, man.
They're
They
aliens,
are ugly
bro.
as hell.
They are. Back to
They're
the
earthbound aliens for sure.
Yeah, they are.
I remember I was in Africa and I got stung in the face by an African wasp. It was in Uganda. I was terrified, and they told me that, I mean, it blew up and it was painful, but they said what you really had to worry about is that it didn't lay any eggs in your face, because I guess they can land on you and lay eggs and then sting you, and then you have little fly larvae hatching out of your eyeball. Is that something that sounds realistic?
The stinger's the stinger's an ovipositor, right? So only female insects sting.
Oh shit!
So like the female tarantula hawks are the one that sting. If you see a male tarantula hawk, they're a little bit smaller. They have no stinging mechanism whatsoever. So the ovipositor is what will lay an egg.
Wow.
I don't know that anyone's ever been stung and has had an egg laid in them.
Yeah.
They may have been having a little fun with Andy.
They may have been.
In Uganda.
I think so.
They might have been.
Man, you
They
know what's
might
going to happen now?
You're doing Jamaican or something. Who do they say? Reefer madness in Uganda?
Botflies.
Yeah, botflies are bad.
We've always wanted to do that one. I definitely I would let a botfly put a larva in me and then document that whole process. I feel like it'd be pretty
I would
viral.
too.
What?
I would too.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I always love when they put like a piece of meat over it, and then when it burrows in the meat, and then they pull the steak off, and it's lodged in the steak. I love that.
Oh no.
That's a viral hit for sure. Matt,
What do you mean?
You do that one first. You do that.
All right,
I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So they lay their eggs. They can just shoot their eggs into somebody's skin.
They actually lay it on your skin, and when the tiny little egg hatches, the larva instantly goes inside your skin. Yeah, and then it goes just into the skin layer, and it starts to eat like an actual little hole and a little cavern it creates for himself, and it just keeps eating and eating and growing and growing and growing until the larva can get to be about an inch long and about a quarter-inch thick, maybe even thicker. Is that correct?
True. That's so accurate. Yeah.
There you go.
I had that happen I got tick bite fever in Africa. Similar thing, a tiny little tick that burrowed in a weird spot on my leg that I couldn't see. One day I was in the shower and I was like, what is that? There was like a hole in my leg that formed. It was like a pock mark, but deeper. It was, bugs are crazy.
How did you get rid of that? How do you get rid of this stuff? Like, how do you
pack?
How do you heal?
And a Bic lighter.
No, how do you heal from that though, man? It's like, seriously, like what?
With the tick bite fever, I did go to the doctor because you never know with things that can come from foreign countries. I'm like, I don't know what species of tick that was. There's this weird pussy hole in my leg. They just gave me an antibiotic and it eventually went away. So tick bite fever is something that's a little bit more common than, I guess, some things that you could stumble upon. Like with a botfly, for example, I don't think they would do anything at all. They would just be like, let it run its course and it's going to eventually hatch out of your arm. And,
oh my goodness,
you got to be an incubator chamber.
Yep.
Oh my.
Aliens.
Where
baby.
do you get botflies from? Where do they hang out?
Avoid that place.
You can get them in Costa Rica.
Costa Rica.
Lots of there are many different species of botflies. So we have seen them before. So I know that the location you have, the Costa Rican Amphibian Research Center.
Yes.
Matt. Like I know
Heck
Brian
yeah.
really well. We actually
sweet,
we
dude.
filmed the Bullet Ant episode there on his property.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, that place was his
Dude,
property
that place
is unbelievable, man.
Was incredible. Man.
Unbelievable.
Yes. Lo and behold, that is one of the genesis points of a lot of original Brave Wilderness content. We've filmed easily over 25 episodes on his property. I've known Brian for almost a decade.
My gosh.
Awesome guy. One of his expertise in glass frogs.
Dude.
Oh man.
His knowledge is mind-boggling.
It is.
Mind-boggling, dude.
It is.
They named a salamander species after him. Remember that?
Yeah, and he has a bunch of plants.
Yeah.
And palm. I mean, dude, this guy is like
unbelievable.
I literally have a 5-minute video where I'm recording glass frogs as he's going through them, and I just listen to the audio now because the way he speaks about frog, it's like Joe, it's like the Einstein of frogs. I'm serious.
And he's got that awesome Minnesota accent.
Yeah,
his accent.
Especially when he speaks Spanish with a Minnesota accent, you're like, wait a minute, where's this guy from? Yeah, we were totally thrown off for a while. We were like, wait, what?
Yeah, because he'll break into perfect Spanish, and you're like, yeah, he goes from talking Minnesota, and then right into like perfect Costa Rican Spanish.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah,
what are the glass frogs?
Cool,
you see through them?
You can see through.
I'll show you a
them.
picture.
Yeah, we got lots.
I'll show you a picture after. Yeah,
kinds,
are they venomous?
No. But so we did see the poison arrow frogs.
Yeah,
what are
saw
those?
the strawberry, the blue jeans.
Yeah,
and we saw the green and black.
Blue jeans. Which ones? 501s?
Have you ever held a poison dart, like a poison dart frog or blue jean or anything like?
Yeah.
Dude,
I mean, here's the truth about the poison dart frogs. You can 100% hold them in your hand, right? So there's a couple of rules with amphibians that any wildlife expert would tell you, right? Kids are always going to catch frogs. Amphibians absorb a lot of stuff through their skin. So it's best practice to be like, all right, don't have bug spray or suntan lotion or anything that could seep into an amphibian skin. I'm just saying that for the sake of this conversation.
That's great.
But poison frogs, I mean, I've held all of those frogs barehanded. They're not going to kill you just by holding them. Now, if you were to take one of their green and blacks or the blue jeans and be like, cool, I'm gonna pop this like a gummy vitamin, then you would be in pretty bad shape. But none of the poison frogs in Central America are really that dangerous. There's actually only one poison frog species that I believe is in Colombia that it's some golden, I forget which species it is, but if you touch it, it is going to kill you. So there's really, I think, only one on the planet that is like, if you touch it with your skin, you're toast.
You're toast. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that wild?
Does anything touch that with its skin?
Well,
I mean,
the whole point is that it's such a fragile creature, right? That it's only, and its one sole defense is look
epidermis.
at me, I've got this crazy coloring, and that's because I am toxic. If you touch me, you will die. And that's the only reason why it still exists on the planet, is because frogs are so fragile, man. I mean, they're so susceptible to so many different things and so many different predators. They have to have something to keep them alive. And that's what the poison arrow
toxicity.
Pure toxicity.
Yeah. Which is all based off of what they eat. So all those toxins that they're able to exude have to do specifically with the small, like, microorganisms that they eat in the wild. So for people that keep poison frogs in captivity, there's a constant sort of scientific conversation going back and forth with these animals losing their toxicity based on what they're eating in captivity. And again, I'm not a frog expert, but I know that does become a thing. So they're rather hard to take care of in captivity, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, because you basically, I mean, you have to basically raise, and it's got to be small because they like small prey. So the normal crickets and mealworms and things you'd buy at pet stores usually are way too big. So you have to raise flightless fruit flies, as well as springtails and all sorts of isopods and things that they can eat that are of that size. Now, I might be wrong about this, but I think this is what it is. If you are to raise a certain kind of an ant, like the small Argentinian black ant, and they eat those, that's when they can start to reacquire their toxins from the ant species. So that's one way in captivity to bring the toxicity back to your frog.
All the toxins from all the things they eat in their body.
Exactly right.
And they discard the other stuff.
Yeah, they have little pores that they exude it from. Am I correct?
Yep.
I think so. Yeah. That's the way it goes down. I wanted to bring. You want to say something?
Well, I was just gonna. I mean, this is a total. I mean, it's not totally a shift, but I was just gonna ask about the murder hornet, because I've seen them online, and I've seen
a lot of fear mongering.
And I know you have firsthand experience with that, so I want to know what that was like and how big those actually are, and if they're as bad as everybody says.
Oh yeah, no, they're big, they're bad. They're definitely not going to outbreak in the United States, but I will say that when the whole murder hornet craze happened a few years ago, we've never had a video that went originally viral when we released it, and then several years later for it to double down and exceed its virality. It was just like from a cool, like, behind the scenes business sort of thing. It was cool to see something like that happen. Not necessarily cool that an insect species got labeled as a murder hornet, but in fairness, people do die usually on a yearly basis from getting attacked by these hornets, and they're absolutely massive. They're huge.
How big are they?
the entomologists that I worked with in Japan that helped us find one. So
No
they
way.
gave me this. This is their collection. That's the Japanese giant hornet right there.
Yep.
If you can see that.
No
way. So, I mean, it's a sizable bug.
Big.
And they were not easy to find. We eventually caught one. I was stung by it. And I have to tell you, the initial impact, I've never been punched in the face by Mike Tyson, but it felt like bam, like I whited out in the moment. Woo! It was so impactful so quickly. And man, did it sent me for a loop. So we rank that as a more potent, more dangerous sting than a bullet ant, because you imagine disturbing a nest of giant hornets.
Oh, no way, dude.
It's gonna kill you. You get stung in your face or your neck and you swell up to that magnitude. Like my arm like doubled in size. So you imagine that happening anywhere where your airwaves are, and you're in a lot of trouble.
So have you built up a tolerance now because you've taken so many stings? You think not only a tolerance to pain, but like you're basically giving yourself the anti-venom type of thing, like a snake wrangler would?
It is a very interesting topic. We've got a group in Switzerland right now that's interested in doing some tests on my blood to see if I've built up any immunities. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, like, I don't think there's anything special about me. I grew up in Ohio. I don't have any superpowers, but I strangely don't really ever get sick or get infections from anything. Knock on wood, because you never know when the next one could be the last one. But I do think that because my body's been so resilient to so many things, that my immune system is pretty strong, in all fairness.
Wow. Yeah, I actually want to know about the results from a study like that, because I've often wondered this. They just recently, I'm a crazy iguana fanatic. I've had iguanas since I was about 8 or 9 years old, and they just recently labeled them as being poisonous, not a venom, but having a poison to them that can, in the form of bacteria, like the Komodo dragon with its saliva. They have bacteria in their saliva and under their nails in particular. So when they scratch people, a lot of times it won't just be a scratch. It will get really inflamed and kind of bubble up and get very hot. And I remember as a kid constantly being scratched by the iguanas and constantly the scratch mark swelling up. And then a few days later, the swelling would go back down. It would start to look like a normal scratch. But as that continuously happened over my life, now I can get just tagged by one of my big iguanas, just torn up, just by accident. Just they move. They've got very sharp nails, right? And I don't get that swelling anymore, as to where when I have a caretaker who comes in to take care of them when I'm out of town, if they do get scratched, the same thing happens. They swell up for the first few days before that goes down. So I've always been fascinated by this, because I feel like if they could test me for iguana anti-venom, I'd probably have it, just because I've had so many scratches and so many bites and so many things over the years that
I accidentally got bit by Jomo.
Oh yeah.
Total accident. I gave him banana, held on it too long. He bit me. He let go. He was very cool about it. But I almost died. I had I'm not kidding, a fist-sized infection that was traveling around my body, in my legs. Dude, it was I was in bed, deathly ill for weeks.
Yeah.
No,
I had sepsis, right?
This was an iguana. This is an iguana bite?
This is
an iguana. My Cuban iguana, it was about 30 pounds now, man. He's 25 years old. He's a big guy.
It was wild. I was terrified.
And you have sepsis?
Yeah, I got sepsis.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen for me at all.
I'm not kidding. It was a fist. It was in my legs. It was like approaching my groin.
Yeah.
I was freaked out, dude. I was like, I'm going to lose everything right now. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the last time I watched
that's the complication, I think, with a lot of lizards and their saliva specifically. I know, monitor lizards, which Komodo dragons are the largest monitor lizard, but I've got a couple of friends who have been bitten by monitor lizards, small bites, and they've gotten horrible infections. So yes, whatever the bacteria is, or if it's a venom or whatnot, there's definitely something to that. And with iguanas, I'm not surprised. I mean, they might be mainly plant eaters, but dude, you don't want to get bit by one. Cuban rock iguana or green iguana, no matter what. Like they got a mouthful of chompers. That's for sure.
Yeah, man.
They do.
Have you ever been tagged by some iguanas? Is that something that you?
Only the claws. I've never been bitten by an iguana. The most impactful lizard bite that I've taken has been by a Gila monster, which is the only lizard.
Yeah, it's venomous, man.
Yeah, but that was accidental. That was a legit, like, an idiot early Coyote Peterson thinking that he was quicker than the Gila monster, getting a GoPro that could have easily been on an extendable pole, next to the Gila monster's face, and it got the side of my thumb. And bro, it was 9 hours of excruciating pain. It was very scary because this was even before I was doing a lot of the bite sting stuff. And I was like, man, like, am I going to have to go to the hospital? There's no anti-venom for Gila monsters. Nope. And it traveled up my arm. I could feel the venom going all the way up my arm and like into my chest. So I got lucky that it was this hand. So opposite side of where my heart is. I don't know if that would have made any difference, but at least in my own brain, I was like, well, at least it's on this side versus this side. So Gila monsters, which, you guys can run into anywhere out there in the Southwest. It's like, see one of those guys, give it some distance.
Really? You can run into them out here?
Oh,
Where?
yeah, man.
Where?
Well, the last one ever seen in like Riverside, which is about an hour and a half from here because of obviously human, growth and population, was, I think they maybe like 30 or 40 years ago. So they used to be literally in the basins here, but not anymore. Now you have to go out towards the deserts more.
What do they look like?
They are orange and black banded, very stub-nosed reptile.
Did we ever find any of those?
What?
Did we ever find any?
No, we've never seen them. No, but I've seen them. Yeah. Yeah, they can get pretty big. And then they have a cousin, which is the Mexican beaded lizard, which is just over the border, and they get really big.
But to make you feel better, Joe, they would never want anything to do with you. They're primarily nocturnal. Like to ever even get lucky enough to see a Gila monster, I mean, you might be better off buying scratch and win $25,000 lottery tickets because I think you got a better chance at that than seeing a Gila monster. But to ever get bitten by one, like it just wouldn't happen unless you were like, oh, look at this colorful lizard that I'm going to think about picking up. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's not crazy. They're not going to come after you.
Your body just naturally sort of siphon the poison out after like 9 hours?
Yeah, after about 9 hours, my thumb turned all black on the side, and it's kind of gross, but I'll tell you guys anyways. And then, like, the next day had the absolute worst number 3 scenario on the toilet you can imagine. I think it was my body like just expunging all of the toxins that went into me, or whatever my body like sent into overdrive to be like, isolate the venom, break it down, get it out of your body. So I've told that story a couple times because different research people have been like, that's interesting. So you had this massive like movement of stuff out of your body after that happened. Like, I guess I will never do it again. That's for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, well, and venoms and things like this, in my opinion, have to be studied way further because they have this deadly component and this component that can make you very sick. But there's also the other side of it where a lot of incredible medicines and help can be derived from these type of things.
I'm sure get Ozempic, the new Hollywood diet. Bit by a Gila monster.
Remember when I told you that?
Lose a few pounds.
Yeah. Do you know that the GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic were derived from the Gila monster's saliva?
Oh no, I did not know that. I was just joking. For real?
That is for real. Yeah, that is a real fact.
How about?
Well, then there you have it. The Gila monster venom made me want to get stuff out of my system. Maybe that had something to do with it. But
I literally lost 38 pounds.
Wow. In one night. It was crazy.
Crazy, man.
Go through 9 hours of Gila monster pain. The next day, you'll be a completely different pants size.
Yeah, pretty
Check
much.
out these. Look at
these abs.
Ready for my close-up.
Oh, man. I wanted to bring this up because this is something I struggle with when I'm out there is do I pick it up and don't die? Because inside, I want to jump on these animals. I want to get close to them. And then I have this yin-yang thing with, man, but I don't want to disturb them. I don't know. Is there, what is there, is there a balance between these two?
Would you want somebody picking you up?
No, but that's what I mean. So I tend to not.
Maybe you're on the toilet.
But here's the thing.
Somebody just comes in and picks you. Hey! I'm doing some business here. I'm eating the salad.
Alien abduction.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
As we see, it garners so much more interest and attention.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm going to bring up this topic. So because that's the goal, right? You're doing what you can to bring awareness to wildlife and to educate when a lot of people, especially now, have 2 seconds and they don't want to be educated. They just want to swipe to the next thing that gives them a dopamine release.
Yeah.
So how do you garner the attention where you get people to pay attention, to focus in, so you can educate them about wildlife? It's really tough, and it's a fine line to kind of thread the needle with. how far do you go with the animals? Because yes, for me, it's like, do I want to disturb something in its natural environment? No, my favorite thing is to watch and get natural, behaviors that you wouldn't see in captivity. That's why I go to the wild. So the minute you interject yourself, you're changing that. But at the same time, people, they're not as interested seeing you see an animal versus seeing you interact with an animal.
They used to be.
So that's what, that's the fine line. And that's where I struggle nowadays. Cause I don't know where exactly to go with it.
I feel like Steve Irwin sort of changed that because Marty Stauffer was always just about watching them in the wild. He never interacted with them at all because we grew up watching Wild America with Marty Stauffer.
Yeah.
And it was all about just watching them.
Yep, that's true.
Right? National Geographic, most of it was from far away and you were watching it. And I feel like maybe I'm just a novice, but Steve Irwin, I feel like he became famous for interacting, for almost disturbing them.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. But here's the thing is that the end of that equation is look at what happened.
And it didn't go good.
And that's the thing that's the sad, that's the struggle part. And I remember after that, there was a whole backlash for a long time with naturalists really interacting and touching animals.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And now it's kind of flipped back. And now we see a lot of, especially social media influencers that are constantly jumping on animals or picking up animals.
Really?
Constantly. And I get this yin yang thing about it, right? Where I'm like, oh, I want to do that. I want to see the interaction, but at the same time, like that animal looks distressed. It just shit itself. That's not good, especially for certain tortoises and certain crocodile species which store up these nutrients in their stomachs for over long periods of time. So I don't know.
Yeah, so it's such a great question and a great debate. And I love to hear that you guys watched Marty Stauffer's Wild America.
Heck yeah, that was it.
This is
Wild America right there.
Yeah,
back in the 80s, like
the
that
80s,
was
man.
You could get on it was like Channel 5 or something.
Yeah,
I used to love that. And Joe, you're right. I mean, when Steve Irwin and Jeff Corwin came into the scene, all of a sudden the interaction became like, oh wow, and that was certainly hugely influential on me. But I started with Marty Stauffer, and even remember watching like old reruns of like Wild Kingdom with Marlon Perkins.
Yes.
And Jack Hanna, who was obviously from Ohio, again, an observer from a distance, working in comedy to certain aspects of like almost captive-oriented animals or being on safari. But when you take it to where we went with Brave Wilderness, it's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? When we started developing the concept for Brave Wilderness, the exact story that I got from every production company or network that we tried to pitch the idea of Coyote Peterson catching animals to said, Steve Irwin, who passed away in 2006, we started developing this show concept in 2009. And Planet Earth was on the rise, and Bear Grylls was making Man vs. Wild. And networks were like, people interacting with animals doesn't work. You saw what happened to Steve. And we're like, that was a tragic thing. Tragedies happen every single day. Doesn't mean that people aren't going to stop picking up garbage because someone got run over by a garbage truck, right? And from my perspective, kids want to learn about animals in a way that they can see that this is something viscerally up close to the cameras. And how we justify it is that you're right. Not every animal needs to be disturbed. So when we go out and film content, if we're after a specific target or the right species presents itself and we can catch it and get up close for the cameras, priority number one is always the safety and the well-being of the animal. You would think it would be me, but I will tell you that it's always a concern for the animal first and foremost, to make sure that it may get stressed for a second, but Matt, as you know, from somebody that interacts with animals, in the fight or flight response mechanism that triggers in an animal the second that it's caught, you become the predator, it becomes the prey, even if it itself is a predator in its own ecosystem. But it's essentially, as soon as it's like, wait a second, I'm not getting bitten, I'm not getting clawed, I don't feel any pain, it's going to just go, so what's happening right now? There's aliens and cameras and what am I going through? They're just building up their energy, so the second that they get put into the environment, boom, they're able to take off and they're going to go hide and be like, I don't know what this was, but I'm going to tell my boys about this, that I was on Brave Wilderness again. So we've gotten a little bit of flack over the years, and it's completely fair for people that love nature to be like, hey man, do you got to catch it, do you got to touch it? I don't, but I like to, and I do it because I want to be able to share that enthusiasm and the education with the next generation, because the one single person you might reach as a kid that grows up to find the solution to preserve some rare species of poison frog in Central America because of what they were inspired by, that makes a difference for the entire course of that species. Think about how many animals are killed every single day by cars or by poisons that we put into our yards, or the fact that we, no offense, Joe, don't understand them and they're flying around by us and we're swatted out of the air with a rolled up newspaper. Not to say that you do that, but
no. I have one of those digital fly swatters with the thing. No, I don't.
Electrocution. You execute
an assault gun.
I would never, ever use a newspaper. I read those.
Well, maybe you have the electric. You guys ever seen
the assault gun?
Yeah, the assault gun. That's the worst. That's so bad.
But Matt, you get what I'm saying. So
yes,
for you,
totally.
The desire to be curious, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going out into an environment and you're like, you see 15 of the same species of frog, you don't catch all 15 of them. Catch one, look at it, get a picture, really admire it, and then let the other ones be in situ and admire them for what they are. So we believe in entering the environment and being as least disturbing as possible, but at the same time, that small disturbance or that momentary 15 minutes that an animal might be in hand or in front of a camera, it's like, cool. Well, that animal just became an ambassador for its species that might completely change the course of the future for it and its ecosystem based on the influence that we're providing to the rest of the world. So,
man. That is the best explanation of it. I mean, I even looked at it from this way. Like, what happens when you go and radio collar and dart, it's like this. That's equal, if not more, of a disturbance to the animal itself, just so you can study it. So
I always feel bad when they.
I 100% agree with you.
When
they
tag like dolphins or sharks or turtles and stuff. I mean, I know it's but it seems brutal.
But it has to be done. I've really flipped. I used to be, almost. There was a phase in my life where I was against even zoos for the captive care of animals and all that stuff. And then I really flipped in like my late 20s because I started to realize the only way for us to not only be the shepherds of these species, but is to bring them in and study them so you can understand them better. And once you realize how important they are, like you were saying, to the environment as a whole, like you lose these species, you lose the environment. That's when I started to really change and go, okay, the captive care and the work with these animals, zoology as a whole, really does have its place, and it's very important in the same regard as going out and actually catching these animals for education as well as scientific research. It's important, man. We change the environment so much on this planet that we now have to become the shepherds of the wildlife, and it's really important. And that's why I admire you so much, is because what you have done and the type of impact you had. Like you just said, there's a whole generation now of kids that are going to grow up knowing your content and being educated by you and being interested about this planet and possibly being interested in even saving some wild spaces on this planet. And that's a dream of mine. That's why I look up to you. That's really that's what burns inside me now, even more than the entertainment industry and all these things I've been a part of my life. That's what, like, my legacy, right? That's what I think of. How can I inspire people so that when I'm dead and long and gone and people don't even remember me, that there's a generation out there that saw or heard or read about something that I did that could possibly make the planet a better place for all of us, humans and the natural world that we are so much a part of. And I really admire that about you, man. That's a big one for me in my book.
It's very kind of you and well said. I mean, for you guys, I'm sure when you grew up in Pennsylvania, you had a lot of the similar species that we have here in Ohio that you were seeing in your backyards. And, all around the world, people respect animals in different ways. Yeah. So I've been places around the world where I'm like, people just look at animals as a thing that's out there and they have very little respect for them or recognize the value that they bring to a certain area. So, the more that we've got the opportunity for our technology to be evolving, right? Everybody's got a camera in their hands today. And I certainly have nothing negative to say about people who are out there now attempting to be their own version of a wildlife presenter. But when you look back on the course of history, there are very few people that have been able to do it. You guys know better than anybody how difficult the entertainment industry is.
Yep.
Your understanding, and Matt, you for sure understand how complicated the world of animals is. So when you take those two and combine them together, it's a very complicated equation to ever solve. But with today's technology and the opportunity to have all these digital distribution platforms, you're going to have some that are good. You're going to have some that are bad. But the fact that more and more people are getting out there and being curious about the natural world, you have to hope that a percentage of those, the right percentage, is going to end up having a positive impact on the future of where our planet is headed. And, you know, you either are, you aren't paying attention, or just wanting to be oblivious of the current status that we're in globally from many different regards. But animals are going to be here probably long after humans, even though we as humans are taking so much away from their ecosystems right now.
Yep, it's so true. I've seen it. You know, I keep a lot of records because all of my reptiles, I'm lucky in Southern California, but all of my animals are housed outdoor in hybrid type environments. So I can still control. I can take the minimum temperature and boost it up by 10 to 15 degrees. Same on the opposite side of heat. I can cool. I got fans, mister, all these things. But still, the daily weather has been very important to me ever since I was about 12 or 13 years old. So I've taken very, very, very strategic records daily, humidity, you know, UV indexes, when the sun's rising, when it's setting. And I'll tell you, it is definitely shifting. Our climate is changing. Even just in the 30 plus 40 years I've been taking records, it is shifting. Especially out here in the Southwest, our summers are getting later and later and later in the year. We're getting more variants of hot and cold. There's been way more fluctuations. We have the hottest temperature on records right now ever for the month of March right now. You know, so that's 180, almost 200 years of record keeping. And we have a March with temperatures 95 plus degrees. I mean, it's wild what we're having right now. So I've noticed it, you know, and whatever you want to say, humans, the planet naturally has cycles, whatever you want to say, the environment is changing.
Well, I'm sure for you guys in California, I mean, if you're already hitting these high temperatures this early in the year, as, you know, fire season creeps in closer and closer, I mean, it's just wild. The fire situations have always kind of been there for you guys, but it seems, you know, and this could, again, take it with a grain of salt because I'm from Ohio and I'm watching it through what the media
lens of the media.
It is that bad though. That last fire was. I mean, we live in a place that we've never really been at risk, and I could see flames from the roof of our house. And
we were in an
evacuation zone,
or not a mandatory, but like a
second degree or whatever.
Ready. The call could come any minute. I had all the animals in crates. We had all the, you know,
that they've been rerouting a lot of the water, the natural water flow into the LA
we have
basin,
terrible.
So
the preparation was a disaster. However,
they didn't have any water, but also they've been rerouting natural water flow, which is ridiculous.
Bringing it back to animals, we're now releasing a lot of goats and stuff to clear the brush on all the mountains so that the risk of wildfires is less.
Well,
which is great.
I'm a big proponent of this.
Goats. Love goats.
Always turning to nature to help solve
nature's problems.
With nature.
Yeah, totally.
It has 4 billion plus years on us to develop these things that we can learn from.
I totally agree.
So yes, instead of spraying stuff into the sky,
goats,
let's think about nature.
They eat everything.
Yes, I always say that I hate when I see people spraying their yards for weeds and insects. The worst thing you can do, create a healthy environment, farmscape.
You're only going to create
the plants that you want to propagate in with wild, local, native wildlife to create a balanced ecosystem on your property.
Exactly. You're going to
use the spiders to eat the mosquitoes and the things that carry vectors. You know, bring in the wildlife that'll keep the rodent population down. The raccoons, the bobcats, the coyotes.
You're only going to create an imbalance when you try to mess with something or eliminate a specific species like spiders
because you could create a monoculture.
Yeah.
Then you just have one thing like a roach that'll take over everywhere because roaches are notorious for being able to get around our pesticides and things we spray for them. Right. But yet you kill everything else. So now you just got a ton of roaches in your house. You know, the list goes on and on. But yeah, I could go on.
My house. No roaches in my house.
You're not wrong with anything that you're saying. I mean, we as humans always want to play, let's alter the scenario, make this better, but we don't think about what that's going to affect maybe 2 or 3 steps or even one step away from trying to eliminate the problem. And we just keep compounding the problem year after year after year. And, not to make any light of this situation by bringing it up, but I just saw that somebody died from a rattlesnake bite in California.
That's right.
And, this time of year when you've got snakes starting to get more active and those temperatures are getting hotter, faster, the snakes are coming out earlier. Primarily, rattlesnakes want to be out at night. They're just using that sun to warm up. So the more that people are getting out for exercise purposes, at times of day when they're not used to seeing reptiles, and now the reptiles are out because it's getting warmer earlier, you start to have these negative interactions. I would think it was tragic that somebody ended up dying from a rattlesnake bite because it doesn't happen often. And as soon as you've got media headlines of somebody dies from a snake, there's not enough context given versus just, a rattlesnake bite killed somebody. Was that because they didn't seek treatment fast enough? Was there an allergic reaction? It's very rare that a rattlesnake bite ultimately kills a human nowadays.
I run into rattlesnakes all the time, and I've relocated them countless times. So I would know. So to your point,
the baby rattlers are in my neighborhood. I see them. The little guys.
Yeah. Well, and
stay away from those guys.
They're more deadly than the big ones.
Well, they don't. They're more deadly,
venom.
but they're just at. They can be just
because they empty all their venom.
They don't know how to control. They don't drive bite, right? So that, because they're babies, so when they bite you, it's a.
Well, they're automatically going to have a smaller venom yield based on the fact that it's a smaller snake. The venom is still going to have a level of toxicity that is going to send you on a medical emergency, right? But it's not necessarily that they can or can't control a certain amount of venom. It's always at the end of the day going to break down to venom yield and how your body reacts to venom. So even if you're bitten by a baby rattlesnake and you might think, it's not that bad, it's always going to be a medical emergency. But, a 5 foot long Western Diamondback rattlesnake that bites you and empties high yield of venom, much greater chance that's going to have negative effects versus a little one.
Absolutely. 100%. That is the case. And also, just for anybody listening out there, if you do get bitten by a snake, catch the snake. There are many different kinds. Catch the snake. There are, let me finish.
Or take a picture of it or something.
Well,
how are you? I would
snake.
be so traumatized.
Yeah, you got to get the snake if you can, because there are so many different kinds of subspecies of not only vipers, but other toxic and poisonous and venomous animals that if they don't know exactly what it is, they can't give you the proper antivenom, and it could make your recovery much harder.
And not to tell you any of that's wrong, Matt, but in regards to catching the snake, I would say, Andy, I'm with you. Try to get a good in-focus picture of the snake first. Because if you try, let's put it this way.
I love you.
Let's put it this way. I'm just stating this for the sake of anybody listening. If you got bit by a rattlesnake and you don't know how to catch a rattlesnake,
that's true.
And then you try to catch that rattlesnake, you might just get bit a second time.
Again.
Yeah. Your heart's going to be pounding all the venom through your blood.
About that girl that was like, I'm going to go out and catch pythons, and she picked up a water moccasin.
Oh,
no
and this
way.
poor girl got bit multiple times.
Oh my God.
Before she was like, I don't think it's a python. Like, first
That's
of all,
insane.
Okay, but a water moccasin bite is a medical emergency. And for context, for anybody listening, based on whatever your insurance plan is, a venomous snake bite can cost anywhere between $200,000 and $1.5 million in medical bills and anti-venom vials based on what happened. So it is not a joke. A snake bite will bankrupt you very quickly.
Well, I didn't know that. That's an incredible fact.
So that's why I'm saying, like, if you get bit by something and you don't know what it is, from a photograph, people can probably very easily discern a venomous snake species in you guys' area specifically, right? There's only a couple of venomous snakes out there. And you can also have gopher snakes, bull snakes that might look like a rattlesnake. But if you're like, ooh, I got bit by a snake, maybe I should try to catch the snake. You might get bit several other times in the process because snakes only bite when they feel threatened. The majority of snake bites happen when people are trying to kill a snake. They're like, oh, it's a snake, I should kill it. That snake, the second it's like somebody's trying to hurt me, then it's going to get defensive. If you do nothing at all, the snake is going to stay still because it's like, oh no, if I've been spotted, turn around, walk the other way, that snake's going to be like, I'm out of here. But if you antagonize it, that could be a problem. Now, if you know it's a non-venomous snake, then I don't think you're going to be going to the hospital anyways
you're right.
to show what it is. But I'm going to side with Andy on that one to say,
Okay,
get
I like
it in focus, zoom in with your iPhone as close as you can, but make sure it's don't focus. Whenever people send me pictures, look, what kind of snake is this? I'm like, do you have fingerprints all over your lens? And did you zoom in 15 times?
Yeah.
This is just pixels to me. Just get a shot of it. We could zoom in, look at what it is. It's very easy to determine if it's venomous or not.
Somebody found a large snake in our neighborhood, but they said it wasn't a rattler, so it must have been one
a gopher or king snake.
Probably California king.
Very big, though.
King snake, probably.
They can get big. King snakes get big.
Yeah.
Real
king
big.
snakes eat other snakes.
Yeah.
So if you see a king snake, it's going to eat the rattlesnakes. That's what they
you
primarily
keep them
go
around.
Yeah.
You don't want to remove the king snakes. Those are the good snakes.
Cut the
Real
Joe
super friendly too.
with his
they are. They're
with his
great,
electric
man.
charged tennis racket and his salt gun going out there.
Oh gosh,
No.
that's insane.
He's smiling because he can't admit it. He's like, I
I'm
may
not
have.
doing that.
I know.
I do slingshots.
So to get back a little bit to this incredible brand that you built with Brave Wilderness, did you come at it from a like a filmmaking perspective, a entrepreneur perspective? Because I remember when we first met, we were on a Zoom, and I was blown away by your knowledge of. I mean, I was expecting to do more of this, rap about animals and crazy experiences we've had. But man, I'll never forget the first thing you said, like, what is your thought process, Matt, to deliver your message on screen? I was like, wow, he's actually coming at it from an artistic perspective. This is not, this is like you were saying, the biologist type of a thought process. So what was that for you?
I very much approach everything as, again, having that background in entertainment, there's a pragmatic approach you have to take to make content palatable for anybody. And it's only become more and more challenging at the rate at which we're absorbing our content and that everything is 3 seconds worth of people's attention. Right. But when we started the brand, I mean, we very much knew that we wanted to create something that was going to build legacy, right? I grew up in the same influence that you guys did, the Spielbergs and the Lucases, and where we recognize that there is a whole universe to be crafted around an idea. We looked at animals as being the core superheroes of the universe that we wanted to build behind. While, Coyote Peterson might be the guy in front of the camera, I don't consider myself the star in any of what we do. I'm the guy who just gets to be lucky enough to be in front of the camera, be the microphone for what these animals' experiences in their lives and how they operate within the world are. Whereas it's the animals that are really the thing that I think people are most interested in. Yep. I've gotten lucky in that people have enjoyed my personality and the crazy stuff that I've gone through. So I've sustained a bit of longevity, but that longevity comes from learning with the franchises that came before me. So Steven Spielberg and George Lucas, going back to them, certainly are huge influences on me to recognize characters they created and then to say, how do I make myself a character in a universe that is inspired by the types of things that they built, that then eventually becomes known, which then eventually becomes household name, which then eventually becomes influence, which then leads to hopefully one day legacy, if you can keep that trajectory going long enough. And when you combine all that together, for us specifically, at the end of the day, we look at the value that it will have long-term on education and conservation and the protection of the planet. There's obviously the business hat I can also wear that's like, well, I've got to keep the brand going. I have to keep the lights on in the office and the employees with their salaries. But collectively as a team here at Brave Wilderness, we're always working forward to figure out what are the next great partnerships and how do we keep these stories entertaining and how do we find the next interesting thing to share with the world. So, kind of in a nutshell, that's our approach to it a lot of times. So cool. But it starts with entertainment, it's baked in with education, and then it's how do you keep it going?
That's true, man.
Really
I was
cool.
just gonna. My next question was, what's next for you?
I was gonna say that.
Yeah,
that was
like
gonna be
what
my
is
question?
I mean, you've climbed the Mount Everest of wildlife entertainment and interaction and being stung and bitten. Where you headed next?
Jurassic Park. Hey, you know what, man? Did you? I mean, there's a lot of guys out there. There's a lot of guys out there that are talking about actually building a real Jurassic Park.
You got to count me in if this is happening.
So
I want to do this.
I can't talk too much about it, but we are working on a large immersive biological reserve project right now that is specifically centered around dinosaur-themed content.
Oh.
And for clarity, we will never bring dinosaurs back to life that way that it was done in Jurassic Park. But you have to think about where is our technology headed and what are the immersive experiences that we're going to be able to create using advancing mixed reality and holographic technology. So this is sort of for us a next big step that we're looking to impact. I got some really cool stuff happening in the world of dinosaurs. One thing that I can talk about publicly is that I'm teamed up with some folks out in Montana right now. We've got an amazing couple of dig sites where we've got some skeletons coming out of the ground, 2 new Tyrannosaurus Rex skeletons, one of which may quite possibly be of world record size. So we're very excited about that. But
really?
I love dinosaurs as much as animals. And if there was ever going to be a next step for me, it is very much how do I get involved in the world of dinosaurs in a much bigger way. And I'm happy to talk with you guys about that in more detail off the air. But that's a bit of a teaser to say.
Dude, you got it. I can't wait to talk to you about this off air. You got to keep me in the loop. Let's give you a little tidbit and a little story about me.
Yeah.
I had dinosaur sheets. I was obsessed with dinosaurs. I got that little archaeologist kit when I was like 7 years old. And this is the tidbit that I want to say to you. I was lucky enough to work with Steven Spielberg's team on a movie called Mrs. Doubtfire that had just wrapped the first Jurassic Park.
Yep.
And when they found out how crazy I was about dinosaurs, not only did they gift me the amber piece with the mosquito in it, they took me to meet and on the set and took me to the premiere, and I got to meet everybody and hang out with everybody and talk to everybody about this. It was like, not to mention, I don't even know if you guys know this, but you know the guy, Attenborough, who played,
of course,
yes, that's
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
That's Richard, and David Attenborough is the guy from BBC, who you see. Those guys are brothers. Did you know that?
Wait.
Yeah, the actor in Jurassic Park
and David
Attenborough are brothers.
Wait, really?
They were both loved film. This is why I'm bringing it up, because we're all actually,
wait a minute.
In the end, we're all,
really?
Yes, we're all actually film entertainment guys. Those two guys were brothers. One became huge with Jurassic Park, and the other with nature content.
Oh, that is
with
so
BBC.
cool.
Crap. That's crazy.
Those guys are brothers. Both just really great entertainers is really what
we should have known Attenborough. I mean,
how cool is that little Jurassic Park story?
That is so cool. So, yeah, I mean, the fact that you got to be there at that Genesis point, for me, one of the most impactful moments in my life, because Matt, we're about the same age.
Yeah, we are.
I'm 44. How old are you?
45.
45, yeah.
Yep, you're older.
So that was like our Genesis, right? Like when Jurassic Park came out, I was in, I think, 4th or 5th grade, and it was game changing for me. I already loved dinosaurs.
Yeah.
But when that movie came out, I mean, I had all the toys. I mean, I have all the toys. I got Jurassic Park Tyrannosaurus skeleton right there. Everything in our office is like a giant toy store. But dinosaurs have been kind of my first love, followed by animals. Done what I've done, continue to do what we're doing with Brave Wilderness and Animals. But yeah, man, happy to share with you some of the details of what we're doing in the world of dinosaurs.
I can't wait to hear this.
I think your mind would be blown.
Yeah, I think so, man. I can't wait.
Well, let me say this. I'm just throwing it out there. If you ever need some wingmen to come along on an adventure, count us in. I don't know about this guy. We'd love to bring him. He'd be a great fish out of water.
Yeah, but for the comedy, for the comic relief.
Matt and I would love it.
We would provide the comic relief.
Yeah. Anytime we could get to spend with you out in Adventure, man, we would take it like that.
That'd be a dream come true.
I do have a trip to California that will be happening later this year, so I'll make sure to keep in touch with you guys.
Please,
in person, we can go out on an adventure. We can, just talk everything under the sun that's animals and dinosaurs, and it would be fun, and or maybe I'll come make an appearance on the podcast.
All the above, man. All the above, man. All the above.
All the above, buddy.
I'll let one of my iguanas bite all of us.
No, thanks. Not Jomo. He's already bitten me.
No, you actually don't want to. You don't want to. I got a black dragon water monitor too, who's getting pretty sizable, man. I mean. Wow. I'm in the process of building him a new enclosure right now.
Okay, and you've not been to like the Komodo Islands or anything like that yet, right?
Bucket list for me. No, I've not been to Indonesia. I've done a lot of great places, but Indonesia and the Galapagos are two that I have to do.
Okay,
That's what
yeah,
I'm
we
dying
just
to
did.
do.
We just did a big Komodo dragon episode this past year. It was one of the most meaningful experiences I've
I'm
had
sure.
the chance to be a part of at this point. We got really incredible access, saw some amazing dragons, filmed Komodo dragon cannibalism, which to our knowledge,
Yeah.
first
No
time
way.
anybody's actually ever gotten
Seen
it
it.
on
Yep.
camera.
They eat each other?
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, you'll
Wow.
when you're ready for that journey, let me know and I will get you connected to the right
dude,
folks.
yeah, of course. Oh my
Komodo
God.
dragons eat
Man,
each other?
that'd be amazing. That I would so appreciate that. Yes,
Yeah, for
definitely.
sure, man.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Well, listen, guys, that's
Yo.
we've taken enough of your time, man. Thank you for being on the show. This has been a long time
It's been
coming for
great.
me. I've been trying to make this happen. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all the knowledge. I know from everyone out there in the Brave Wilderness community, which I am a part of. Thank you for decades long of the best animal content and education you can ask for. Dude, let's stay in touch. I want
Yes,
to hear about these
please.
dinosaurs. man.
Yes.
Absolutely. No, yeah. The next guys, let's just look at this as the first hangout of hopefully
Kickoff.
many to come. Would love
sounds
to
We
do
love that.
stuff with
That's
you guys,
awesome,
and,
dude.
Love it.
we'll
Sounds
connect offline and
Yep.
Matt, we'll get together. I'll tell you about this dinosaur project. It
Sick.
requires another hour of time off camera, and
Heck yeah.
Sounds great.
trust me, it'll be worth
I
it.
want to be the
Yeah.
Jeff Goldblum. I want to be the Jeff Goldblum.
Deal.
No, you're the lawyer,
There's
Joe.
lots of
Yeah.
trouble
Sorry.
ahead.
You're the
You're
lawyer.
the lawyer. So we could make a lot of money off of this.
I'm not the lawyer, the sleazy lawyer.
That's what you are, buddy, when it comes to animals.
That's how
I'm
it always
sorry.
starts, with the oohs and ahs, and then there's trouble. Okay. Anyway,
Coyote
all right.
Peterson.
Yo,
thank you
Coyote,
for being
thanks
here,
so much,
man.
brother. We'll see you
Thank you,
guys,
guys.
and thanks so
Really
much for joining
appreciate
in.
you.
We will see you guys next week.
Next week. Thank you, everybody, for joining us here on the Brotherly Love Pod.
Please like and subscribe on our YouTube.
And check out our online merch store. You can find the link in our show description.
And we will see you
Next week.